I'm so tired of quick play and competitive matches. They're just not fun anymore. I wish there was something different to try.
Honestly, same. It feels like this game's becoming repetitive.
Well, I've been playing a lot of Mercy Parkour recently, and it seemed really fun to make a map, but it all looks so confusing and I don't know where to start.
Did someone say they needed help making Mercy Parkour? Well, you've come to the right place. As somebody who has spent many hours of their life playing and making Mercy Parkours, I'm sure I'd be able to help you make your own.
Really? That would be amazing. I've been trying to figure out how to do it all on my own, but I just keep hitting a wall.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Maybe I'll join in and give it a try too.
Me too. It'll be a nice change of pace.
Now follow along on this journey of creating Mercy Parkour.
Helden sterben nicht. Helden
Yippee!
sterben nicht. Helden sterben nicht.
Wait, you guys forgot about me. Come back.
Helden sterben nicht.
Hello, I decided to make this video because I wanted to go more in depth with the Mercy Parkour piece editor for those who want to learn how to make Mercy Parkour but don't know where or how to start. I'll be linking Honey's Mercy Parkour map making handbook in the description and the controls for console. I'm also linking Ayana's original piece editor Mercy Parkour guide video if it also helps as well, but keep in mind this is only for the older piece editor, not the new piece editor or Taw Editor, but I will be linking videos of the Taw Editor in the description as well. Navigate to the custom games and start a game, then head to lobby settings. Look for an icon with a downward pointing arrow. This is where to input the code for the editor. Enter the code T6QQT for the older piece editor. Find the workshop options on the left hand side to access various settings before starting the game. Toggle edit mode to enable or disable the ability to modify the map. This should be turned off when the map is complete, not including workshop customizations. New level radius is the default size of the checkpoints when you place them down. New level crouch instantly allows crouch to each new level instead of having to manually enable crouch to each level in-game. New level GA infinite times works in the same way as new level crouch, instantly enabling infinite GA to each new level. You can activate bot floating to prevent bots from falling when placed in the air, allowing them to float instead. Disable teleport animations if you prefer teleport checkpoints to instantly teleport you instead of having to wait for the full cast time.
I'm here to support. Fight fire.
Now we can head over to lobby settings. Here you can adjust how many players are able to join your lobby. Consider reducing the player count to 5 to 6 if your map has many effects to reduce the chances from the server restarting or shutting down. You can also lower the amount of spectators to 2 to 4 to help avoid lag or the server from restarting due to heavy load. Now you can choose the starting map for your parkour. In this case, I've already chosen Dorado. Note that some maps might not be available in the editor without having to take extra steps. You can choose to start the game now, or you have the option to personalize various elements such as the color of checkpoints, orbs, changing the bot, and more. If you choose to do that first, skip to the time on the screen. In Piece's Mercy Parkour editor, there are 4 modes to choose from: checkpoint, orb, sphere, and cloud. You can switch through them by double pressing interact. Locate where you want your starting point to be. This is where the player will appear when they enter the parkour. To place the checkpoint, press interact and primary fire at the same time. This method applies for all checkpoints. To move a checkpoint, press interact and damage boost. To delete a checkpoint, ensure that your weapon is switched to your gun, then press interact and secondary fire, which is your res. Caution, this can remove an entire level, including orbs, bots, clouds, etc. To increase the size of a checkpoint, have your pistol out and press jump and primary fire, which is your shoot. To decrease the size of a checkpoint, press jump and secondary fire, which is your res. You can hold your jump button in either secondary fire or primary fire to make the point bigger or smaller without having to keep tapping them. Insert checkpoint is when you add an additional level between levels that have already been made. For example, you can add an additional level between checkpoint 0 and checkpoint 1. In order to do this, you first want to be in free mode, and then you want to select the area where you want to place the point. After you find your area, you want to press interact in melee, and you set up your own checkpoint. So now, instead of only having 2 checkpoints, you now have 3. To add a bot, you press melee and primary fire. To move a bot, you repress melee and primary fire to the desired location. To delete a bot, you press melee and secondary fire. Enable the level to have crouch by pressing crouch and interact. Indicators include the bot color changing from red to blue or a small message text in the middle of your screen. To make the level require you to res Mercy, you want to press interact and reload at the same time. And to undo this action, you can press interact and reload again. To disable GA refresh after res, press interact and Guardian Angel. To re-enable GA refresh, press interact and Guardian Angel. For Infinite Guardian Angel, press interact and your ultimate button at the same time. This allows you to use Guardian Angel multiple times without having to collect refresh orbs to reset your GA. If you want to set up a teleport point, press jump and interact. The point's ring should turn red to indicate that you did it correctly, and your next point will be the point that you're teleported to. To remove a teleport point, press interact and jump again. And keep in mind you can only use teleport points out of edit mode. To place checkpoints out of boundaries, make sure you're either in free mode or not between 2 points. Hold reload to turn off collision with environments, and you can use VWT to get to certain areas as well. As soon as you find the spot you want to use, place your checkpoint. You can only get in and out of bounds by using teleport points, sometimes regular points if you put them like this. Now from here, you want to press your ult button to be able to get to the other side. To set up points like these, you first want to disable collision with environment. As you pass the barrier, you want to turn it back on. As you turn it back on, you want to get as close to the barrier as you can and place a checkpoint. This allows you to get to the checkpoint from this side, and then as you press your ult button, you get to this side. Orbs are used to guide or challenge players and prevent them from taking unintended routes. For example, this level is supposed to be a late sling. But without any orbs, the player can choose to do the level any way that they want, instead of having to take the intended route. Create an orb by pressing interact and primary fire. To move the orb closer to you, press reload and secondary fire. To move the orb further away, press reload and primary fire, aiming in the desired direction. To first delete an orb, you want to have your pistol out and press interact and secondary fire. To cycle through orbs, use damage boost and primary fire to cycle forward, and damage boost and secondary fire to cycle backwards. There are many ways to set up multi-GA. You can either make the starting bot in checkpoint mode, or you can make the starting bot in orb mode. You can even place these bots behind walls or underground to force players to keep their beam on Mercy. Here are some examples. To create levels that require multi-res is kind of like creating levels that require multi-GA, except in this case, instead of using regular bots, you're using res bots. Now to set up this, you first want to place down an orb, and then you want to place down a bot. After this, you want to press interact and reload to make a res bot, and you can place as many of these as you want down. You just gotta keep in mind that there is a limit to how many you can place. Just like regular orbs, you can cycle GA orbs in the same way, but this time with a little bit more variety based on the bot. If you're using multiple res bots and want to disable GA to every bot after res, then you have to cycle through all the orbs and disable GA refresh. Be aware of the limits on how many orbs you can use. This also applies to clouds and spheres. Exceeding this can cause server performance issues. Also, remember to utilize orbs not only to direct player movement, but also incorporate advanced techniques like rolls, b-hops, and more into your own level designs. Spheres can be utilized to block unintended pathways or enforce specific player techniques. Spheres are also able to reset players upon touch. To create a sphere, also known as an anti-orb, press interact and primary fire. You can move spheres in the desired direction you wish to place them. By pressing reload and primary fire, you move the spheres away, and pressing reload and secondary fire, you move it closer. You can also adjust the sphere's size by holding jump and primary fire to increase the size, and jump and secondary fire to decrease. Just like orbs and clouds, you can cycle through spheres. There should be a glowing orb inside to indicate that the sphere is selected. Use damage boost and primary fire to go forward, and damage boost and secondary fire to go backwards. To delete a sphere, you need to have your pistol equipped, and press interact and secondary fire. Clouds create a platform that can give players an extra boost or help reach higher places without specific in-game actions like GAing or b-hopping. To place a cloud, press interact and primary fire. You can change between different clouds by pressing damage boost and primary fire to go forward, and damage boost and secondary fire to go backwards. To adjust the elevation boost provided by cloud, use jump and primary fire to increase the cloud's bounce level, and jump and secondary fire to decrease the bounce level. Move the clouds further away by pressing primary fire and reload, and move them closer by pressing reload and secondary fire. To remove a cloud from your level, you must have your pistol out and press interact and secondary fire. You can combine basic elements like bots, orbs, clouds, and spheres into your map. You can incorporate advanced techniques such as b-hops, multi-GA, prop jumps, rolls, and more to enhance your map's complexity and interests, or you can stick with classic slings. Your maps can go anywhere on the scale of beginner, easy, low inter, intermediate, high inter, hard, very hard, expert, and super expert. They can even be in the middle of 2 different difficulties. To prepare for saving the map, ensure you're either in free mode or at the last checkpoint to enable free walking. This is crucial for exporting data without having to be reset every single time you walk off checkpoint. From here, what you want to do is you want to press crouch, your GA, and walk backwards at the same time. This should pop up a screen that says data exported and have all these steps below. Next, you want to go to your options menu and select Open Workshop Inspector. It'll take you to this tab, and you want to go to where it says Auto and switch that to Global, and make sure that all the variables are 0 instead of checkpoint. If they're not 0, then you're gonna have errors in the game or trying to save the game. After you do all that and make sure everything's at 0, you want to click this button. It works as a copy button, and you just want to click it like a couple times to make sure that you're copying it correctly. Then you want to click out of here and go back to your options menu, and this time select Open Workshop Editor. Then you want to scroll all the way to the top to where it says Pit Data Here, and select this orange icon and paste. Now from here, you want to go into regular settings, and if you're done with all modifications, turn off edit mode to lock the map from further changes, ensuring it remains as you intended in case you want to play it without free mode on, and make sure everything works. There are 2 main ways to save your map. You can either save it as a code, or you can save it as a preset. To save it as a preset, you want to click on this first icon on the top right, and it gives you the option to give it a name. Now, I would try to give it a name that associates with the map that I'm working on, so that way it would be a lot easier to find instead of naming it Mercy Parkour and not knowing what Mercy Parkour you're talking about. Now, the next way is creating a code, and you want to click on this third icon to create a code, and press continue. After it gives you this code, you want to write it down, or you want to take a picture of it so that you would remember, but if you forget to do that and just click OK, you can always make a whole new code and just save that one instead. Now, each map is assigned with a distinct code. It's crucial to keep a record of these codes to prevent any mix-up, or losing track of your codes can result in overwriting existing maps, leading to the loss of your work. To maintain clarity and preserve your maps effectively, always save under the original code you begin with. This practice helps avoid confusion and ensures your maps are updated correctly without overwriting unintended maps. Remember that only you, the creator, can save changes to your maps using these codes. This exclusive control guarantees that only authorized edits are made, preserving your design. If you've re-edited your map and want to save it under the same code again, you just have to click the third icon, and instead of clicking create a new code, you want to click the drop-down menu and select upload to existing code. And from here, you can just type up the code that was previously so that you can overwrite the last code. The original piece editor code doesn't come with some of these quality of life changes, or they may have to be edited to be able to work, but thanks to Cherry, we now have a code where you're able to copy and paste all the effects that you want to add to your maps. This is especially awesome for console players who aren't able to copy and paste as easily as PC. The code will be linked in the description below.
After Season 4, Mercy got a nerf giving her cast time after pressing crouch or jump after GA. This rule, made by Nash, Hamsterman, and Melanix, adds a small fix to this problem, making GA almost instant for faster moving maps or maps that include multi-GA.
Hallo. I'm here to support. You call it?
There are times when you may want to collect an orb during or before res. With this get orb rule, you're able to do exactly that.
Hello. I'm at the height of my performance.
Walking levels are levels that allow you to walk freely on the map without getting reset. There are many ways to incorporate this into your own maps.
Heute nehmen. I am fully focused.
To set up walking levels, you first have to find this rule called back to point after landing. It should be right under Killbot. You press on this drop-down menu, and you should look at conditions and select the one all the way at the bottom. All the negative ones represent walking levels. For instance, if you have 3 levels that you want to turn into walking levels, you first have to get the level that shows up in edit mode and replace every negative one with the level that you want to use. If you only want to use one walking level, you just have to replace one of the negative ones. If you have over 3 levels that you want to include walking in, you just have to copy this condition and paste it, and then you could do the exact same thing on the other one. Sometimes your bot tends to unintentionally fly away, given that they're characters like Hanzo, Genji, Pharah, and etc., but this only occurs if you have bot floating on. You're able to fix this issue by replacing this subroutine called create player target bot with this new one. To replace them, you would only need to select all, copy, and delete the previous actions and replace them with these. To implement the get orb rule, you first need to find the rule that says get orb. Then you click on the drop-down menu and select all of these actions. After you selected them all, you want to turn them off. You turn them off by clicking on this icon. Before we continue with this part of the video, I just wanted to take some time out to be able to explain the easiest way for you to be able to copy some rules and add them to your map. You want to click on this box to the right of the rule, which lets you select it, and then you want to scroll all the way to the top until you get to this top part, and then you want to click copy, and then when you're on your map you want to press paste rule, which is the orange icon. Remember, if you want to use any of these rules, they are likely to be in the code made by cherry shown above. There are also some other cool rules that I haven't gone over. One of the funnest things to do in Mercy Parkour is to customize your maps. There is a lot of different elements to change, such as the color of checkpoints, effects, bhop indicators, sparkles, and more. This allows for a lot of amazing customization varieties. Thanks so much to Mooshworm, who was able to provide a code that gives more customization options for the creator and code. This allows you to add the difficulties of the maps and your socials without having to be on PC. There are also more customization changes and personalized configurations, so you should probably check those out. You can add these to your maps by copying all the actions you want and then pasting them to your map. HUD and guidance is where you can add your tips for certain levels. On this top box, you put the level number that you want the tip to be on. This is the level that you're on while not being in edit mode. Then on this box is where you add your tips. You can copy and paste this action as many times as you like for the number of tips you have. Map guidance text is where you can put the text in the map, kind of like tips, but you need specific vectors to be able to place them down where you want them, and this is how you get them. To get the vector, you first need to place something down like an orb, cloud, checkpoint, but in this case I use an orb because it's a lot easier to move around, and they're pretty small, so you don't have to move them around too much. The positioning is the vectors that you're going to be using, all three of these. Make sure to write them down so that you can then type them out. After you find all three vectors, you're going to come back here. You're going to scroll down until you see X, Y, and Z, and here's where you're going to paste all three of your vector numbers. If you want to add more maps guidance text, you just need to copy this action and paste it on as many times as you need. You just have to remember to follow the same steps. This is what they should look like when you're done. Big and small message texts are also like tips that only appear for a short period of time, and this is what they look like. If you want to give yourself or others VIP titles, you just have to find the rule that says player title. Next, you want to scroll down and find these three actions, and this is where you're going to put the VIPs. If you have more than 3 VIPs that you want to make, you just have to copy these 3 actions and then paste them again. After you click on this action, you want to scroll down to where it says this first string, and here's where you're going to put in the player's exact gamer tag, and then down here is where you're going to change the name to whatever you want it to be. You can even give it a little icon. Since we're on the topic of placing icons and text, I'll show you how to place the icons. First, you want to place a brace, which is also called a curly bracket, then place a 0, then another brace. This acts as a placeholder for the icon. If you want to use more than one icon, you fill in the same order, you just have to replace the 0 with a 1 or a 2. Now you're going to look for the value that you used, and since I used value 0, this should be saying null, but since I changed it, you should find the option where it says ability icon string, and it should pop down all these lists. For hero, you can use whichever hero you want. You just have to select this drop down menu, and then you can choose the icon that you want to use from that hero on here. In this case, I'm using Sombra's ultimate button. You can add these icons nearly everywhere, allowing you to have more customizations in your maps. You can add them to checkpoint text, tips, map guidance text, big message text, and more. Personalized configuration is where you can find most of the customizations to your maps. On the code I previously shared before, made by Mooshworm, you can find more customization options there. If you don't want to go back into the video, you can just find it in the description below. Ring color of this level is the point that you're standing on. Sadly, with effects like checkpoints, orbs, clouds, and spheres, you're only allowed in-game base colors, so if you were to implement all these RGBs, it would just bring you to the closest in-game base color. So instead of using custom colors, I would just recommend using regular colors, and you can just scroll through this list. Bot icon color is the color you see on the bot when crouch is enabled, but when crouch is disabled, it's normally red.
Powering you. Greetings.
Next checkpoint text is the text on the checkpoint. It normally says "come to me," but you can always replace this action with whatever you want. Next checkpoint text size is the size that you want the next checkpoint text to be. You can either make it bigger or smaller. Next checkpoint text color changes the color of the text on the checkpoint, but you're only limited to the base colors. Next checkpoint icon color allows you to change the color of the checkpoint icon, but if you use character abilities as checkpoint icons, then the color will remain white. Next checkpoint effect colors are the colors of the sparkles or the other effects that you use, but like some of the other effects, you can only use base colors. Next checkpoint ring color is the ring color you see on the checkpoint you're supposed to go to, not the one that you're on. You can make the ring color of the checkpoint you're on different than the ring color of the checkpoint you're supposed to go to. Next checkpoint effect is the effect on the checkpoint that you have to arrive at. It can either be light shaft, sparkle, cloud, or harmful aura. On the last number area, you type in the effect number that you want to use, but it's automatically already on sparkle. The effect numbers are listed below Edit Action. There are many effects in personalized configuration, that's why it's good to look through all of them to see what each one does. But if you have some questions, don't be afraid to ask in the comments or in the Mercy Parkour Discord server. To change the bot, you want to find the subroutine that says Create Player Target Bot, and then find the action that says Create Dummy Bot. After, you want to look on the right hand side and see where it says Mercy, and then use the drop down menu and you can select whichever character you want. If you want to change VHOP effect, you first have to find the edit extension. It's all the way at the top, and it should look like a puzzle piece. To get all the debuffs and buffs, you want to turn this on, and then press OK. Then you want to find the subroutine that says Create Global HUD, and you want to scroll down until you find this action. And then you want to go to where it says Ayana Nano Boost effect, and then you can change the VHOP effect here. But keep in mind that some of these don't work. Okay. If you want to add sparkles to your maps, you can copy this rule and this rule down. They both have to be copied, or you can just copy this one rule.
Heroes never die. For a price.
If you want to add player sparkles or bot sparkles, you can copy this rule down. To add player sparkles, you copy down this rule. If you want to add a cute little greeting for your VIPs, you can copy down this rule. The first time that you press GA, the greeting will pop up. If you want to change the hero on the icon tips, you first have to find the subroutine that says Create Player HUD and Effects, and then scroll down until you find this action. And then click on it, and then you need to find the one where it says Mercy, right here, and then you can change it to whatever character you want. If you want to change the bot's icon, you first have to find the subroutine called Create Player HUD and Effects, and then scroll down until you find this action. Then you scroll all the way down until you find Icons. And here is the drop down menu, and you can use any one of these that you want. If you want to change the icon for refresh bots, regular orbs, and refresh orbs, you first want to find the subroutine that says Create Current Effects, and then scroll down. This first action allows you to change the refresh bots icon. The second action allows you to change the refresh orbs icon. And then this last action allows you to change the regular orb icon. If you want to add multicolored checkpoints, you want to copy this rule.
Right by you.
If you want to add a distance meter for res so that you know the distance between you and the bot, you want to copy down this rule. You're also able to customize the icons, so instead of using Life Weaver's primary fire, you can change it to your own icons, and you're also able to change the color of the text. If you don't want your reses to be cheesed by being able to res on point, either by standing on point and resing, or doing a backward sling res, you can add the no res on point rule to avoid this from happening on your maps. Like many of the other cool effects, they will be located on Cherry's code. Now from here you just want to copy this, and then you want to go all the way to the top. Oh my. And press copy, and then you could just paste this onto your map.
You call it?
Sometimes when you make a sling map, you don't want the level to be cheesed by doing b-hops, so this back to point after res rule takes off the ability for players to be able to b-hop, making you instantly reset back to point. If you want to add ability icons instead of regular checkpoint icons, you can just copy down this rule. After you copy the action, you want to find the subroutine that says create player HUD and effect. And then you want to scroll down until you find this rule, and you want to replace this rule with the one you copied. So you have to delete this one. And then paste the new one. If you want to make multicolored checkpoint sparkles, you just have to copy this rule. Then you want to find this action. After you find this action, you want to paste the action you copied and make sure that it's below this action. To move the action, you would first paste it, then you would use these arrows to move it up or down, making sure that it's below the first action. When you finish, it should look something like this. so much for watching. I hope this helped with some of your questions. Later I'll be creating more videos including the guide for the newer piece editor and all the map customizations and effects. If you have any issues or concerns, please leave a comment down below or join the Mercy Parkour Discord server for some more support.